I've done a couple videos now with the L fence on the table saw, and in the last one I used a template with the L fence to make live edge shelves that were all identical in size and actually worked really, really well. But someone brought up a good question, and that is, what is the difference between using this and just using that same template at the router table? I actually have some of the offcuts. I want to show you guys what probably would have happened if I would have used just the router table. These are the offcuts that came off of here. You can see all the checking and cracking that's here, and look how bad this is. I mean, this just falls apart. And if I was to run this through the router table, especially taking off this much material at a time, roughly a ½ inch or so, this would have completely exploded in the router table, especially when you get to parts like this on the edge, where this becomes really dangerous. And with this funky grain here, it probably would have spun and grabbed onto something on one of these shelves and completely split it apart. So one, our offcuts are too wide, and two, our offcuts are too fragile. Now, up till now, every time I've used this in video form, I've showed you guys how to use it to flush cut, right? So if I want to take this shape and I want to transfer it to here, I can simply fix these two together with some double-sided tape or something, and now I can drive this through here, as long as this is set up flush to the outside of my blade here. But what if I was to move this over, say, a 1/16, and bury that blade a little bit underneath? Now, when I trim this up, it's going to cut it to this exact shape, but it's going to cut it a 1/16 oversized. Then we can take that oversized piece to the router table, and whether we're using a straight flute bit or a spiral bit, we're going to be able to use it at the router table and trim just that 1/16 of an inch off. This is going to reduce tear out. It's going to reduce the chances of that bit grabbing our material and ripping it out of our hands. So it's a safer cut, but it's also a much cleaner cut as well. I take that back. I actually think I should have just used it flush against the table saw or used a spiral cut bit, because now I have some hellacious tear out in this piece here. Now that I look at it a little bit closer, using that straight bit, I was actually going against the grain right here, which is why I got that tear out. So if I would have done a climb cut, I might have been okay, or something. I think in this situation, I probably would have just stuck with this, or like I said, use a spiral bit. Now, that being said, safety. This is a very safe operation. The router table, I think, is safe enough for most people, but you have to know how much you can bite off at one time. Typically speaking, you're gonna get a safer and better cut if you take less material off at a time at a router versus over here where you can take off large chunks and you're gonna be okay. So I think the L fence, set up properly over here, give yourself like a 16-inch reveal, and then take this over to the router table and flush it up. But pay attention to grain direction or you'll still end up with tear out. We'll see you guys in the next video.